Hello and welcome to day 6 of our 24-day journaling challenge. I hope you're enjoying it so far. We're almost 1 week in. Today we're going to cover a topic that is going to be a little bit challenging, and I want to invite you to just explore it with me to the best of your ability. I've got a brogue hair here. I've had a morning. I won't indulge you in the details, but we're here now. We're grounding, we're settling into our bodies, arriving, landing. Maybe you're in the same place as me. Maybe you are already way more calm than I feel right now. So, we're going to journal on resolving feelings of shame. And shame is this sensation of not being able to openly express or share your truth. It's the parts of ourselves that we repress because we fear our own judgment and others' judgments and society's judgments in general. Someone once told me that if you follow the shame, you'll arrive at your power. And what that means is that the areas that we feel shame around are often the areas where our power resides, where our strengths reside, and those parts of us that have felt shamed, or that we've shamed, or that others have shamed, are often the parts that triggers others or brings something to the surface. And so there's a tendency to project, and then we end up feeling not good about ourselves and the way that we are. So we're going to explore that a little bit. I'm going to dive right into the first question, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about how this works. So the first question, number 1, is actually more like a statement that I want you to complete. I'm going to open my journal as well. I've already journaled on this because I just had a lot of thoughts and feelings in the last few days. It's been one of those times of very big growth, and journaling really helps me bring to the surface and put down on paper so I can release the things that are coming through for me. It's getting really bright and sunny out there, which is lovely. Alright, so first question or first statement. I feel shame for. I want you to dig deep, like really sit with what's coming to the surface, feel it, acknowledge it, and write it down. I feel shame for. I mean, this is a topic I explore with myself, for myself, often, because, as I said, shame is where our power resides, and so it is an area that I want to explore and resolve and clear as much as possible whenever things come up. So I felt shame around my lifestyle choices, I felt shame around my body shape, I felt shame around not meeting others' expectations, I felt shame around not meeting my own expectations, not being as good. I can have some perfectionist tendencies sometimes where I have idealistic perspectives. So I just didn't like. Speaking of perfectionist, I was like, that candle needs to go half an inch to the left. Anyway, yeah, I thought I'd speak to one that I was thinking about recently. When I was a teenager and my body was growing into its shape, my mum made a comment about my hips being really wide. And I think I'm going to come from the perspective of positive intent. She was just making an observation, like, oh wow, your hips are really, growing wide. And then throughout my life, which my hips, I'm curvy. My bone structure is curvy. Even when I'm at my thinnest, my bones still have this like very curvy shape to them. It's how I'm made. And it's something that's been brought up a few times, and it's fine, I've made peace with that. I like that about myself now. And a few years ago, some man that I was dating for a short period of time was like, oh, you've got childbearing hips, and he really wanted to have a kid. And it made me feel like some kind of piece of livestock, like you're just useful for this thing. I'm about to go on a tangent. I hope you don't mind. It reminds me, actually, years and years ago, maybe like 8 or 10 years ago, I was living in Amsterdam and I went to this sort of spiritual community circle thing where we were just encouraged to speak our truth and share in a circle and things like that. And the guy who was leading it, he was very interesting and I liked him a lot. At some point he said to me, you will make really beautiful children. And this has nothing to do with my shame piece, by the way. I just want to tell you the story because it's interlinked in my head. And it was a weird kind of compliment. Instead of saying like you're attractive or you're pretty or whatever it is that he was wanting to say with that, it wasn't about me. It was about what I could produce through me. That's not a shame thing. I just have like a hang up about it that I'm still working through, clearly. Anyway, so this thing that I felt shame for a long time was having bigger hips, being curvy, but just having bigger hips than maybe some other people do. And so that's my thing. I feel shame for having bigger hips. I hope you figured out what your thing is. Now we can move on to the next stage, the next question. How does this thing that I feel shame around serve the world? What does this gift that I inhabit or that I have, that is part of me, give back? I mean, based on the story I've just been telling, you know, one of the ways is that maybe I could make really great kids. It's not something that is in my vicinity yet. And I don't know if it will be, but I mean, that's one way. Another thing is just the gift that it gives me is the lesson in absolute self-love and self-acceptance. And self-love isn't like, oh my God, I adore myself, but like, I am made this way, and the way that I'm made is exactly as it needs to be. And I appreciate and love all of that. And perhaps they also, you know, the cauldron of feminine power in that area between my hips is the cauldron of feminine power for all of us. Is my womb, is like all of this feminine power that sits within me. And so in embracing and acknowledging that I have that in a very strong way is also how I serve the world. Like, yes, there's this femininity that exists and lives within me, and my gift is to pour out of that place and give from that place. And perhaps having broader hips is a indication towards the power that exists there. My gift, what's yours? I hope you don't mind me talking you through these things. It's just like, I feel like it's a really good way for you to see how we can redefine our thought processes through journaling. And I want you to write it down. I'm talking because I want you to write down what's coming through for you. As always, just pause the recording, pause the journaling practice whenever you need, so you can pour yourself onto your page. Because when you write it on your page, you release it and you get clarity around it, and then you're able to start seeing things from a different perspective. So, third question, there's one more after this. How can I reclaim this part of myself? For me, it's been about just wearing clothes that show that aspect of me. Instead of hiding it, instead of feeling ashamed by it, proudly show it and share it and allow people to enjoy it and acknowledge it and admire it. And some people are going to judge it in a positive way, and some people are going to judge it in a negative way, and that's life. People like to judge, and that's none of my business. That's their business. What's my business is how I show up in the world, how I perceive myself, and how I act on this perceived piece of shame. Last one. My cat is doing strange things over in his corner. What would it look like if I expressed it in an uninhibited way? So I was thinking about this when I was writing these journaling questions. And for me, the next step would be maybe to do some kind of traditional Tahitian dance, for example, like, you know, really feminine dance that uses the hips, that shows them off, that expresses them in a way that's uninhibited. It's not something that I have moved towards yet, but I'm genuinely interested. It's something that I'd love to do. It's something I'd love to try. So over to you. How would you like to express the part of yourself that you have felt shame around in a way that's uninhibited? Explore that and maybe try it.